I've always believed that the earth remembers the roots, the soil, the way it holds everything in place. It carries more than just the weight of plants, you know. It carries stories. My hands are used to digging, used to feeling the earth beneath my fingers, working it, shaping it. I thought that's how I would spend my life, until the day I couldn't anymore. Before we begin, what country are you watching from? And just out of curiosity, what time is it for you right now? Wherever you are. We're so glad you're here. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the story. It's been 3 years since David died, 3 long, unending years, and I still wake up in the middle of the night, my heart racing, wondering where he went. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to speak to him, just out of habit. It's never something you expect to lose. The ability to reach out, to touch something that used to be so real, so steady. It's as though, the moment he left, I lost a part of myself. Maybe it was always there, and it just took his absence to show me how fragile I really am. I try to fill the emptiness with work, the garden, the flowers, the plants. They don't ask anything of me. They just grow. Even now, with my business dwindling, with the bills stacking up, I try to keep the garden alive. It's all I have left. I remember when this house was full of laughter. David used to joke that we had a jungle out back, and maybe it wasn't far from the truth. Every inch of the backyard was filled with something. Roses, lilies, daisies, wildflowers. We had a little pond, tucked away in a corner, overgrown with moss and ivy. Sometimes, when the sun hit just right, it looked like something out of a dream. David and I used to sit on the old bench by the pond, sipping coffee and talking about everything and nothing. He'd read the newspaper, and I'd get lost in the way the light played on the water. It felt like time moved slower then, like the world outside didn't matter. But now, I'm alone. The weeds have overtaken the flower beds, the fence is sagging, and the house is falling apart. The walls creak and groan like they're holding their breath, waiting for the inevitable. David's chair still sits at the table, but it's empty now. And no matter how many times I rearrange the living room, it doesn't feel right. There's a hole where he used to be. I try not to think about the money. I can't afford to, really. The garden business doesn't bring in enough to cover the bills, and what little savings we had is slipping away. But I don't know what else to do. I can't just leave the house, not after everything we built here. It's hard to admit, but I feel like I'm disappearing. The neighborhood has changed so much in the last few years. New people moving in, young families, professionals. They look at me like I'm part of the past, something that doesn't belong anymore. The developers have started taking over, marking houses for demolition. They say it's for progress, luxury apartments. I've seen the brochures. It's funny, really. They've marked almost every house in the neighborhood, but they left mine alone. Until now. The letter came last week. A letter like any other, but this one felt like the death sentence I've been waiting for. Your property has been identified for redevelopment. Just like that. They don't care about the life I've built here, about the garden David and I nurtured, about the memories buried in the walls. It's all just land. They want to put up new buildings, condos, to cater to people who won't even know this place ever existed. I tried to call them. I even drove down to their office, hoping for something. Anything. But they don't listen. They told me it's out of their hands, that the city has approved the project, that it's inevitable. As if the sweat I've put into this place, as if the years of love and care don't mean a thing. I haven't told anyone yet. Not my family. Not the neighbors. What's the point? They won't care. It's just a house, just a piece of land. It's early in the morning when I get dressed for the town hall meeting. My clothes don't fit like they used to. The dress I wear is too loose around my waist. and the fabric feels like it's clinging to me, reminding me of how small I've become. The meeting is in the evening, but I know if I don't prepare now, I'll back out. It's hard, you know? Standing in front of a crowd, telling them that something you've held dear for so long is being torn down. The fear in your voice is worse than any anger. I used to be someone who could speak up. I've given lectures about plants and garden designs. I used to sit on panels for environmental organizations, teaching people how to care for the earth. I never thought I'd be in this position, on the other side of the table, struggling to be heard. When I arrive, the room is already packed. The mayor is up front, chatting with a few people in business suits. There's a group of developers sitting to the side, looking bored. They're used to this. They've heard it all before. They've heard the protests, the concerns. They've heard it, and it doesn't matter. I take my seat in the back, my hands gripping the edge of the chair so tightly my knuckles are white. I try to breathe. I try to focus on the cool air in the room, the hum of the fluorescent lights above. There's a small part of me that hopes they'll listen, that maybe, just maybe, someone will see me, see us, and understand that there's more to this place than just buildings and money. When it's my turn to speak, I can feel my throat tighten. My words come out haltingly at first, but I keep going. I talk about the garden, about the history of the neighborhood, about the community that's been here for decades. I try to hold back the tears, but they come anyway. My voice cracks, and I feel a wave of embarrassment wash over me. I want to run, to hide, but I don't. The mayor doesn't even look at me when he speaks. "Your house is already a relic, Ms. Hayes. We can't stop progress," he says, his tone dismissive. The crowd murmurs, some nodding in agreement. I feel the weight of their indifference press down on me. It's like a punch in the gut, a cold reminder that I'm just another person who doesn't matter anymore. I sit down quickly, my heart pounding in my chest. My hands are shaking. I don't remember much after that. The meeting drags on, more presentations, more slides of shiny new buildings, more promises of growth and opportunity. It all feels like a blur. The air tastes bitter now, like dust. When I leave the hall, it's dark outside. The streetlights cast long shadows, and I feel small, like I'm invisible in this new world. There's a bench near the park, and I sit there, not caring if anyone sees me. The tears come, hot and fast. I don't bother to wipe them away. What's the point? There's no one left to care. I don't know how long I sit there, but eventually, someone joins me on the bench. It's a young woman, probably in her 20s. She's dressed in a loose blouse, her brown hair pulled back in a ponytail. I can smell the faint scent of fresh soil on her clothes, like she's been working outside all day. There's something familiar about her, something gentle and kind in the way she sits, just a little apart from me, but close enough to offer comfort without saying a word. She looks at me after a while. "Tough night?" she asks. I can't speak at first. I just nod. She doesn't push. She doesn't say anything else. She just sits there, letting the silence fill the space between us. And in that silence, something shifts. I don't know how long we sit there. The minutes stretch on, but in a way that's different from the heavy, dragging time I've felt lately. It's not like the clock is ticking faster or slower. It's just quieter. The sounds of the night, the distant hum of traffic, the rustling of leaves in the breeze, feel like a part of something bigger, something that isn't being erased, even if everything else feels like it is. The woman next to me doesn't say anything more for a while. She just lets me breathe. But after a few moments, she shifts slightly, as though she's deciding to cross a line. "I know what it's like," she says, her voice soft but steady. to feel like you don't have a place anymore. I look over at her, surprised. She doesn't look like someone who would understand. Maybe it's the youth in her face. Maybe it's the way her energy fills the space around her, like a spark waiting to catch fire. But something in her presence is comforting, in a way I can't quite explain. How do you know that? I ask, my voice still hoarse from the meeting, from the tears I haven't let myself cry in front of anyone else. She glances at me, and I see a flicker of something in her eyes. A knowing, a softness that mirrors my own sadness. I grew up in a neighborhood like this, she says. My family lived in a small house not far from here, before all the new buildings and the fancy condos, before it all changed. I still visit sometimes. It doesn't feel like home anymore. It's just gone, like it never existed. I'm quiet for a long moment, thinking about what she's said. The same thing's happening here. This neighborhood, these streets that used to be so familiar to me, they're not mine anymore. They belong to the people who can afford to buy their way in, to the developers who see it all as nothing more than numbers on a page. She watches me as I process, and then she asks, "What's your name?" "Eleanor," I say, a little too quickly, as if I'm trying to hide the weight of it. "Ellie." "Maya," she responds. And then, as if something in me has softened, she adds, "I'm a landscape architect. I work with communities to try to integrate nature into new developments. The idea is to preserve the history and spirit of a place while still moving forward. You know, making the city look more alive." I glance at her sideways. She's studying me with such intensity, as though she's waiting for me to say something. But what can I say? My garden is on the verge of being wiped away, along with everything else that once gave this place life. What can a person like me do to stop a force like that? I don't know how much of that can help me, I admit quietly. They've already decided. They don't care about gardens. They don't care about any of this. I wave my hand vaguely toward the park, the space where, for years, I felt a connection to the earth and to my husband's memory. I've tried. They won't listen. Maya shifts on the bench, the fabric of her blouse rustling as she leans forward, her elbows resting on her knees. I get it. It's hard to fight back against something that feels so unstoppable. But maybe that's where you're wrong. Maybe there's more they care about than you think. I turn to her now, confused. "What do you mean?" She hesitates, her gaze flicking across the park before she looks back at me. "What if there's a way to show them that it's not just a piece of land? What if you could make them see that your garden is part of the story of this place, part of what makes it special?" I shake my head, the skepticism I feel slipping into my voice. You can't just make people see something like that. They want profits. They want luxury apartments. Maya's smile is small, but determined. I know, but you have something they can't ignore. The history of this place. The roots. You're a gardener, right? You know how plants grow, how they spread, how they're all connected. What if you could create something that wasn't just about fighting back, but about showing them that this land is alive in ways they can't quantify? She leans back, giving me space to think. I stare at the ground for a moment, the idea taking root in my mind. A garden, a living memorial, something that tells the story of this neighborhood, the people who have come and gone, the plants that have endured. The longer I think about it, the more it makes sense. Maybe I can't stop them from tearing my house down, but I can create something that won't be so easy to erase. Maya gives me a soft look, like she can tell I'm already turning the idea over in my mind. "I can help you," she says simply. "If you want. We can design something together, something that blends the old and the new, something that shows what really matters about this place." The idea feels fragile, like a seed just beginning to sprout. But there's something in her voice that makes me want to believe it's possible. So, I nod, not entirely sure where this will take me, but willing to follow it wherever it leads. The next few days are a blur of small movements, measuring, sketching, planning. I go out into the garden, my garden, and start pulling up weeds, preparing the soil, as though I'm waking it up from a long sleep. Each day, I pull back more of the overgrowth, revealing the bones of what's still here. I don't know what I'm creating yet. Not exactly. But something is stirring in me. The same energy I felt when David and I first planted our flowers together. The joy of seeing life sprout where there was nothing before. Maya comes by now and then, bringing with her new ideas, suggestions. She brings her knowledge of plants, of history, of design. She listens when I tell her about the indigenous species that used to grow here, the ones that have been pushed aside by the newer, flashier plants. Together, we plan a garden that reflects both the old and the new. A tribute to what this place used to be and what it could still be. The more we work on it, the more I realize how much of myself I've been holding back. I've been so caught up in the idea of losing everything, of being powerless, that I forgot I still have something to give. A garden is a place of healing, a place of memory, and maybe that's what I need, to heal, to remember, to fight back in a way that feels true to who I am. And then, one morning, when I'm knee-deep in dirt, pulling out old roots and setting new ones down in their place, I hear it, the faintest sound of a camera clicking. I look up, startled, and there, standing at the edge of the garden, is a reporter, her camera pointed right at me. The reporter's camera lens feels like a spotlight on me, and I freeze for a moment, unsure of what to do. I've spent so many years working quietly in the shadows, out of sight. The garden was my sanctuary, my way of holding on to a piece of something lost. But now, it's different. The world is starting to notice. She's standing at the edge of the property, her camera focused, and I find myself hesitating. The dirt on my hands feels heavy, grounding me. "Who are you?" I ask, trying to steady my voice. "Sorry to interrupt," she says quickly, holding up her press badge. "I'm Kate Rivera, local reporter. I heard about your garden, the one you've been planting here. It's gotten some attention. I'd love to take a few pictures and hear your story if you're willing to share." My first instinct is to say no, to ask her to leave me alone. But something stops me. Maybe it's the rawness in her voice, or maybe it's the realization that the garden has become something bigger than just me. I stand up, brushing my hands off on my jeans, and nod slowly. "All right," I say. But I'm not sure how much of a story there is. It's just a garden. Kate smiles, an understanding look in her eyes. "It's not just any garden, though, is it? I've been hearing about the way it's been tying into the history of the neighborhood. People are starting to notice." I look out at the garden again. It's taken shape over the past few weeks, and in ways I hadn't expected. What began as a desperate attempt to hold on to something familiar, something real, has grown into a symbol. The indigenous plants now thrive alongside the roses and daisies David and I once tended together. It's a tapestry of the past and present, intertwined in a way that feels right. The soft green of the ferns, the pop of colour from the wildflowers, the scent of fresh earth in the air. All of it feels like a story being written with each new bloom. I tell her about the neighbourhood, about the old trees, the gardens, the way the place used to feel before the developers came in, sweeping away everything for the sake of progress. I tell her about David, about how we used to dream of making our home a sanctuary, a place where nature could thrive. I tell her about the pain of watching everything slip away, the guilt I've carried since his death. I talk about the garden, how it's become more than just a collection of plants to me. Kate listens quietly, her pen poised in the air, as though she's gathering the words like seeds, planting them for the world to see. She takes photos, shifting around the garden to catch the light at different angles. Every click of the camera feels like a quiet promise. A promise that maybe, just maybe, the world is ready to listen now. When she leaves, she promises to feature the garden in a piece for the local paper. "You've got a powerful story here, Ellie," she says. "This isn't just about flowers. It's about resilience, about fighting for what matters. People need to see this." I don't really believe her, not completely, but a small part of me begins to hope that maybe she's right. Maybe this little patch of earth, this place I've worked so hard to preserve, can make a difference. The next few days are a blur. I spend hours in the garden, fixing little things here and there, adding more plants, more life. I've stopped looking at the demolition notices. Instead, I focus on what's growing, on what I can still tend to. The work feels good, grounding. The neighborhood around me is changing, and maybe I can't stop that. But I can make sure my corner of it tells a different story. Then, the article comes out. I see it in the paper one morning, spread across the front page of the local section. The headline reads, "A Garden of Resistance. One woman's fight to preserve a piece of the past." There's a picture of me, standing in the middle of the garden, hands covered in dirt, looking down at the flowers. The photo captures something I hadn't expected. A quiet strength. A moment of connection with the earth. The article talks about my garden, about the history of the neighborhood, about the loss of so many homes and memories. It tells my story, David's story, and the story of all the people who came before me. The piece isn't just about my fight to save my house. It's about what's at stake when we let progress erase the things that matter, the things that make a community a home. I didn't expect it to make the impact it does. The phone starts ringing off the hook. People from the neighborhood, people I've never met, are calling to thank me. They're sharing their own stories, their own memories of this place. Some even want to help. They want to fight for the garden, for the history that's been pushed aside. I don't know what's happening, but I feel something stirring in me, a fire I thought had gone out. Maybe this garden was never just about saving my home. Maybe it was about something more, something bigger than any of us. Then, a few days later, the developer's office calls. It's a woman on the other end, a corporate voice. She tells me they've seen the article. They're reconsidering their plans, she says, and want to meet with me. She tells me the garden has attracted attention, that it's become a symbol of the community's resistance. The meeting is brief, and in the end, it doesn't change anything. The development will still go forward, they tell me. My house will still be demolished. But they agree to preserve the garden. It will be incorporated into the new development, a small but significant gesture. The land will still be paved over with luxury apartments, but at least a part of the history will remain. It's not a victory, not really. My house is still gone. The neighborhood will change, and I can't stop that. But the garden, my garden, is going to stay. It's going to be a reminder, a piece of what this place once was. A few weeks later, the Historical Society reaches out. They've been following the story, and they want me to help with a community garden project they're curating. It's not a job, not exactly, but they want me to be a part of something that honors the past while looking toward the future. It's a small thing, a quiet triumph, but it feels like a new beginning. I stand in the garden one last time, just before the bulldozers arrive. The flowers are in full bloom, the air thick with their scent. The sun is setting, casting a golden light over the plants, and for a moment, It feels like time has slowed, just like it did when David was still here. I don't save my house. I don't stop the development. But I've saved something else, something that can't be torn down. The garden is a living testament, a reminder that even in the face of loss, there is always something to fight for, something worth holding on to. As I stand there, watching the sun dip below the horizon, I realize that maybe this is what I needed all along. Not a house, not a piece of land, but a place to belong, a place where I can be seen. And in the end, maybe that's all any of us really need. I take a deep breath and smile. This is enough. The garden stands as a quiet yet powerful symbol of Ellie's journey, her resilience, and the way she's found a new sense of purpose. Even in the face of inevitable change, she's reclaimed her place, not just in her home, but in the community and in her own life.